Welcome to our second video introducing Flask IPFilter. If you have not watched the introduction to Flask IPFilter, I recommend going back and watching that one first. It's about 6 minutes. In this video, I will demonstrate how to use the 3 different rule sets that are now available in Flask IPFilter. So the first time around, we saw the whitelist rule set, which allowed us to allow a particular source IP address, in this case, the localhost 127.0.0.1, and that's why we were able to load this website. In this video, I'll introduce you to the blacklist and the callback rule sets, and I'll demonstrate how the whitelist works again just for completion as well. So the whitelist rule set denies all connections unless we specifically permit them. At the end of the last video, we had permitted the local host, and that's why we were able to access it. I'm going to go ahead and just comment that line out. And we reloaded our server here. So if I go ahead and refresh this now, we get a forbidden message. Right now, no one can access this website because we have not permitted any source IP address. In the alternate rule set, the blacklist, everything is permitted until we say otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and import the blacklist class. We'll use the blacklist class for our rule set. And then the command for the blacklist is not permit but deny. And I'll go ahead and leave that commented, so this line is not actually executing. We're just running the blacklist with no changes. And here you can see that the website is allowing us in. This website would allow access to anyone because we have not blocked any IP addresses. If I go ahead and block our IP address, then we refresh it, and now we're back to the forbidden message. The third option is a little bit more powerful. Blacklist and whitelist are useful if you have a list of specific IP addresses or ranges that you'd like to permit or deny. But the callback rule set allows us to actually define our own function that will decide whether a particular IP address should be permitted or not. So to use that, we will import the callback class. And this one does take an argument. So we'll call our function decide. We need to define that up here. We could also import it from someplace else if we defined it in a different file. And for this function, I'm just going to always return true. For the sake of demonstration, this function will always allow us to access the page regardless of what IP address we come from, and we will delete that line about permitting because we don't need it here. Restart our server, and here we are permitted to access the server because we've called this particular decide function. We can also modify that function to return false, and this will forbid any access. And obviously you can do anything you want with this IP address. So the common use case here would be you have some kind of security appliance or service that can evaluate an IP address and decide if it's a threat. Rather than having to re-implement all of that functionality and copy all of those IP addresses into a whitelist or a blacklist, you can simply define a function anywhere you want here in Python that will call that external service, evaluate the IP address, and then make a decision. So in the next video, we will talk about callbacks on block or permit operations. So once the decision has been made, we can actually do something about it other than just permit or deny the access. And that's particularly useful for logging and possibly interfacing with an intrusion detection system or something like that. So we'll see you in the next video.